Hello, everybody. Checking if everything's all right. And at the same time, for those that are watching the ad, it's going to take that little moment to wait for them. And here we go. And this is good. This is good. That looks good here. Just going to make sure that I position this correctly. And that is all right. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the live show. Hope you had a great time until from the last Saturday's show. Did a lot of radio and radio listening. Just gonna do a little change here because I don't like what it does. Just gonna make sure that that we choose a color. And let's put it blue. I like the blue. There we go. Little adjustments here and there. Nice to have you on board, everybody. And hope that everybody's all right. And this is gonna be nice to be here. Okay, so here we go. So hey, welcome to the Shortwave Live Show, the show where we talk about radio and have fun with radio. This is the Wednesday edition. We are live twice a week at which is technically Thursday UTC time, 00 hours UTC. Thursday, which is Wednesday evening North America, Thursday for a big chunk of the world. And we are also live on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 20 hours UTC. And we, of course, talk about radio, shortwave radio, and any kind of radio in general. We're a great gang of people that are here to have fun with radio. And I think this is a great place to be for everyone, whether you're an experienced DXer, you're an experienced ham operator that can help out and sometimes correct things that I say that are wrong, because I'm not the god of shortwave. I do have lacks in my knowledge. I do have some, little things that I don't know that much of, and things that I might say that are not correct or incorrect, slightly incorrect. You guys can correct me when that happens. To the newbie that doesn't know anything and gets here and says, "Yeah, I got a radio. It has tons of buttons. There's tons of frequencies in there, and I have no idea how to operate and what to do and how to listen." So, well, you're at a great place. This is a place for that. This is a place to have everybody, feel welcome and help each other at the same time. The chat room is cool for that because we can help each other when that happens. And once the party is done here, we have a Facebook group because we do have the chat room for that. But we have a Facebook group for when all of that is over. That is a great place to be. Same name as the YouTube channel, official SWL channel. And we just have a lot of fun and just kind of, interact and share what we were listening to and radios and all sorts of stuff. So it's cool, and welcome everybody on board. Everybody's welcome here, and I think it's one of the best radio communities that exists in the world. I mean, it's really, really nice to see great people enjoying pretty much, uh, you know, the same hobby, the same things we share, the same passion, and we have a lot of fun doing it also all at the same time. So, pretty cool, pretty cool to have everybody here. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We are in northeast part of North America, and I've been listening to shortwave for 40 years. 40 years exactly. Well, officially, because it's more than that. Technically, that I didn't know what I was doing, and there was a radio with SW1, SW2, which I had no idea what it was. And that probably would be like around 1980. I was a multi-band radio. But the real moment in my life where I actually knew or started to understand what shortwave was all about is 1982, when I had my realistic DX100. And boy, that radio opened up a new world that I had no idea existed. And it was just so cool to listen to all the stations around the world. So August of 82 is when that happened. And August of 2022 is exactly 40 years. So we'll definitely be thinking about some special event coming up for August of this year for 40 years. 40 years. Pretty amazing when you think about it. Time does fly. I was a teenage boy that just tuned the world. I think I knew probably more about the world than most people at my age at the time. And even maybe most adults, because shortwave showed me the world. Shortwave made me understand and see all the countries around the world where they are located. I still remember, um, you know, Chernobyl, when there was the Chernobyl nuclear accident, and everybody was like, where's the Ukraine, and which back then it was a Soviet state, if you want. Unfortunately, that's what Russia's trying to do again right now, which is really sad. And the pictures coming out of Ukraine are horrible. And let's hope for the best. But unfortunately, it doesn't look good. Um, and I could show them on the map. Oh, there's the Ukraine. And I remember later on in the later years, Kuwait, when Kuwait got invaded by Iraq. And suddenly people were like, Kuwait, what's that? Never heard of that country ever. Well, I was listening to pop music on Radio Kuwait throughout the 80s. I definitely knew what Kuwait was. I had Radio Kuwait QSL cards. And I could show them. It's like, here's Kuwait, that little space here near Saudi Arabia and all of that, area. The Middle East, where people don't have knowledge of what's happening in the world that much. People don't have knowledge of the world, honestly. Take an average person on the streets and start talking about different countries, and I gotta tell you, a lot of them are gonna like look at you with staring at you like, "What? Huh? I don't know. Um, this is this is I didn't even know that country existed. I don't even know that happens. You know how many people know of more than just the basics of their own little lives and the country they live in. We always have a good laugh here in Canada. One of the common laughs of Canada is that there's too many Americans that still think we live in igloos, and that and not counting some Americans, some U.S. citizens that think Canada is part of the United States, and it's like, nope, two separate countries. And it's not just U.S. based. I think in every country, the average population, it's tough to, you can't judge because what's tough in here is the average population goes on to try to live their lives the best they can. And some know a little more because they travel. They'll go to different countries. But even then, even traveling, I've have a lot of people around me that traveled around the world, and when I ask them about certain things on the countries they visited, they stare at me like, "What? Yeah, yeah, because you could have visited that, or you could have seen that, or that's where it happened." And they're all like, "Oh, really? Didn't know." Yeah, because you limit yourself to a very small bubble of whatever you want to visit in a country around the world, and the knowledge of the world is very small for most people. It'd be interesting to pass or have everybody pass a geography and a world events, kind of questionnaire and see what they score. I don't think they're going to score that high. Shortwave, and I think a lot of us know that, you know, listening to radio stations from around the world for years and years and decades. Oh man, we know a lot more about the world than a lot of people do. We know a lot more about what even world events, and we say it all the time. For those of that are old enough, we've been into world events of the past. The Cold War um, was definitely something to live through shortwave. Definitely, that was something. And even today, there's something interesting. There's something I'm going to talk about today that I will give my point of view. Everybody's entitled to their point of view. But there's an article that came out on Radio World that I don't agree with, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit because it's kind of the negative side of shortwave and what shortwave is and isn't or shouldn't or it is not or whatever. I'm just gonna give my 2 cents worth. Nothing much more. I'm just gonna disagree with something that I read, and that some of you might have read, which come from someone that shares our channel here and is on the Facebook group and so on. Dan Robinson and also Keith Perron, that kind of mixed in there with all of the with their own personal take on shortwave. And so, and I'll have my take on shortwave, personal take on shortwave with it, always in a respectful way. We're allowed to disagree on all of that. It's what makes the world go forward. People disagreeing, but being capable of still talking about world events and talking about, what's happening and maybe changing the world. And if everybody agreed on everything all the time, we'd be a pretty boring society in general. So everybody's entitled for their own opinion, and that's fine. And respecting that opinion is the first thing in a good discussion. That's for sure. So, anyways, I think the revival. I won't call it a revival. Let's. I'm gonna call it a suddenly realizing, because it's not a revival. What's happening with more transmissions with Ukraine and all of that is temporary. I mean, if the Ukraine Russia war would end next week, the transmissions that were added would probably disappear within the next weeks. We'd go back to a standard shortwave broadcast that we had before. Um, I do not believe this is a revival of shortwave. I put it more in the category of it's a realization that the only medium that can go through and give news to somebody that is in a state where war is happening and the government's controlling everything, is shortwave radio. There's nothing else. Shortwave radio definitely has its role to play in something like that, and we're going to talk about it a little later. because I want to have my 2 cents worth of that. But hey, we're here to have fun with radio and share our opinions and talk about radio. And it's always nice to be here. It's always nice to have the familiar names, and of course, some of you that now I have a face that goes with the name. It's even more interesting since the Zoom meeting. So, welcome aboard, everyone. And let's have fun. And just out of curiosity, for those that wonder, I've got 2 radios running. The Kenwood R5000 and the ICOM ICRD500 are both connected and ready to run. I've sent the audio of the ICOM tonight to the console. I'm trying to find the cables that I had, the audio cables, because I have several audio cables, so I could have put the audio of both radios. Actually, I want to have a change coming up, because one of the things that happens is the ICOM is on the speaker and the Kenwood is on its own speaker. The audio quality isn't the same. Then you add radios that have different sound qualities also. Makes it difficult to really take radios, compare them, and say, oh, this one is better than that one, and so on, because the audio is different with different speakers. And so you want to have something that is as similar and as that sounds um, almost the same on each radio, so that you can really grasp not through a difference in audio, but more of a difference in reception quality and the way that a radio handles the signals. So I've got, I purchased this week 4 adapters, because the console takes one a quarter inch, um, it's quarter-inch sockets for the audio, for the cables. And of course, I've got 1/8 or 3.5 millimeter um, cables for the radios, because all the radios have that as audio. So I bought adapters so I can actually fit in the smaller cables into the console, so that I can have, right now I'll be able to have up to 4 radios on the same console. They'll just have to, put up the volume of each. They'll be driven through the same parameters of audio, so that we're trying to, in that way, have a better idea. And also, that's going to let me do the videos instead of using the speaker or the microphone of the camera of the phone, basically, because I'm using the phone for this. I'll be able to use this microphone, and we'll probably do it through the camera I use for streaming, rather than the camera for from the phone to do the same thing. So, anyways, that's coming up, and we'll have a better idea like that of what radio is best when you compare each other. So, welcome aboard, Mad Max 2069. Nice to have you here from Ohio. VA3JPX. James, nice to have you on board from Ottawa, Ontario. Matt, MDK2 from Denver, Colorado. Those who have ears to ear. I like that. Don from Southern Illinois, and for TFF. Jay Watterson, nice to have you here. It says shout out to Paul the Cat and Joel. Mark Cope, WA5153 SWL in Dallas, Texas. Bobby Burgess, WA5107 SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana. Robert Cross, nice to have you here. Chuck from Pennsylvania. James Farley from Old Bridge, New Jersey. KD2GUZ. Greg, good evening, everyone, from Columbus, Ohio. Currently listening to Indianapolis ARTCC 135 800 on the VHF airband. Chuck Schreiber, nice to have you here. Chuck, N5 KVO in South Texas. Chuck Davis, well, lots of Chucks tonight. YouTube has videos of shortwave transmission between Ukraine and Russia. Video radio, Paul, nice to have you here from Northern Vermont, AA1SU. You have to put back that beacon up on 10 meters. James Farley, has anyone modified a AN200 loop antenna with tap points to pick up lower or higher frequencies? Not to my knowledge, but who knows? Robert Cross got 2 more radios last week. I got them working restored. I'm going to buy another shortwave radio next week, Sony SW 2001 radio. John Hummel, Noel, the V5JHN. Nice to have you on board, my friend. We have Dwayne from Tennessee. We have DJW883 from Southeast Pennsylvania. Gabrielle, nice to have you here from Uruguay. TMI, where are you located? Nice to have you here. Rufus Newt from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Was quite warm today, but we're going to have a hell of a lot of rain and wind in the next couple of days here. We have RJDA Dakota in Wentzville, Missouri. WA0113 SWL. Nice to have you on board. Robert Cross receiving 7350. Richard Califano, nice to have you here from Albany, New York. WA2157 SWL. Nice to have you on board. Brad in Texas, nice to have you here in 5LUL. WA5192 SWL. Keegan DXer, or what was XNA DXer. Nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas, 63 Fahrenheit. Pretty cool. Uncle Justin, nice to have you here from Rochester, New York. KB2RMC. Nice to have you on board. And he says, Keegan DXer says, I officially rebranded from XNA DXer to Keegan DXer on Sunday the 3rd. So that's cool. That's cool. Brent VE3GXD. Nice to have you on board from Brockville, Ontario, Canada. Hope you're doing well also. Fine here. Aluk, nice to have you on board. David Flotman, Central Missouri. Nice to have you here. Marvin Motz from Red China. Dean Hintz, nice to have you here. TVDXer, salut, ça va bien. J'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Just close to Montreal, anyways. What else do we have? Duncan, nice to have you here. John Beckham from Northeast Florida. V3JPX, have you thought of keeping the show at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, regardless of time change? The reason I ask is that there are probably more watchers who are on daylight savings time than not. Thoughts? Well, the thing is that the Wednesday evening show, as I call it, because it reaches a lot more, even though there's a little bit of people from Europe that sometimes sign in, but it's very late over there, obviously, is meant to favor other areas of the world. One is to try to be as prime time as possible for North America, and also to be as easy to access from people that are, in India and Pakistan and Australia and whatever, because it'll be easier maybe for them to reach, depending on the time we do. So what happens is, if I stay to 7 p.m. local, now, granted that people that are in the West Coast when that happens are at 4 p.m., which is kind of the end of the afternoon. Some people still working. I'd rather follow UTC, because even though it changes 1 hour, it actually also helps in the West Coast to go to 5 p.m., which is a little later, maybe helping also throughout the East Coast a little more prime time, basically 8 p.m. and 7 and so on. But the most part for this is mostly to follow UTC. Shortwave is UTC, and I think that having a standard that if you live in UTC, which is what you should do on shortwave, basically, I think that's the best way to think of the show. Is it's always at 0 UTC, or it's always at 20 UTC. Whatever happens in your time zone, whatever happens, it's always UTC, the same thing. So as long as you know your UTC time change, I rather follow the UTC, which doesn't change in reality. It's only us that change because of the daylight savings times, and that's soon to be over, maybe, as more and more it's being decided that maybe by the end of next year we'll be officially always at the same time now, which will be nice. Rufus, yes, the firewall is up. Bruce, nice to have you here from Missouri, Southwest Missouri. Oh, Missouri, 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 Ozarks. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Um, what else was Duncan says this is very cool. Glad I found it. Nice. Hope you enjoyed the show and enjoy our talk of radio, which is the main thing. Let me just go down here. Try to whoops, this is a little big. I mean, too big. Here we go. Have only one word on your screen. It's like, maybe a little too big now. What else do we have? Okay. I'm going to catch us at some point. Okay, here we go. So we have Keegan says, my dad, W9JEF, is a ham. Plan to be a ham someday. You have to. It's not that difficult. And be nice to have another ham. And for those that don't know, I am Victor Echo 2, Zulu India, here in Montreal. So, hey, cheers, everybody. Vodka cranberry, usual drink. Richard, glad the fire's roaring. It's cool here tonight. Lowell, nice to have you on board. If you could only one portable shortwave radio, if I could pick only one, which one I would pick? Let's put it in terms of budget, which will be the easiest way to think of what you should get if you'd get something. If I wanted something below 100, I would resume in two choices. Either a Texan PL 330 because of its precision and tuning, frequency calibration, and a great overall little portable radio. But XH Data D808 or Ceodon D808, which are the same radio, two brand names, for the added capability of RDS on FM and VHF airband. So those would be my two choices below 100. And they both have single sideband. If you really need to go cheaper than the Radiwall or Ceodon R108, no SSB, but pretty surprising little portable. And at the really bottom end, maybe a Texan R9012, which is a surprisingly cheap but decent portable for the price for an analog little portable. Then I would go above 100. What I would buy above 100, I would probably go. So now, one of the things about these radios is that they have one flaw that is very annoying for some. And it's the fact that they slightly mute or soft mute when you tune with the tuning knob. If you don't want to have that, then you could go to a Texan PL 660 or 680, which are good old standard analog PLL driven receivers, and they're good, and they have VHF airband, but no RDS on FM. If you want to spend a lot more money but still have radios that don't mute, Texan PL 880, 990, or H501X or higher end receivers, they're more expensive, but they're great radios and are amazing to play with and tune. That definitely is the high end of the portable receivers today. Honorable mention, even though it's not in my top choice, to the Sangean ATS 909X2. It's a good radio in general. It's just that what annoys me is that there's a few flaws for the price that I find kind of unacceptable. But it's the flaws that I have, like lack of lack of uh, bandwidth filters in single sideband, stuff like that, that are very, very useful. Which is kind of weird, and it's the radio can be off by up to a kilohertz and a half, no calibration possibility, stuff like that. Unfortunately, I can't accept that a radio at that price range actually has those types of flaws. But in receive and it's popular, in it's capable of um, it's a capable receiver and works well for what it does. So it's still a nice radio. Anybody that's got one, I think, is happy with it. Definitely. My observations are more of the guy that knows exactly what a radio should be, especially at that price, and find it so sad that there are these flaws or these missing options. But overall, still nice radio. Um, and of course, that pretty much covers everything. I try to think of other radios. There's a few other radios that are nice, but that let's say that I put that in those categories basically. In receivers, there's a lot more and a lot other of other receivers that are totally worth mentioning. Just wanted to say hi in the chat room, in the email. Sorry, I just had a flash that I have to check email. Richard Lemke in St. Albert, Alberta, and he's looking at the St. Gian receiver, and he says it's $349.99 in at Radio World in Canada, and it's back order. And Amazon has it at $537, which is totally crazy and out of whack. Shouldn't be at that price, definitely. And we also have Elizabeth in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. She says, "Hello, everybody. Nice to be here. And we'll be listening along and tuning with or Kenwood R5000. So cool. Welcome aboard, everyone. We have Mika Delnage. Bonjour. Nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Skipwave DX. Nice to have you on board. Larry Gilmore. Good evening. Cold, rainy night in Boston. That's what's gonna be here tomorrow and Friday. Meryl KK4HFG. Nice to have you on board. Just got off work. Sat down for dinner. Realized you just started your show. Perfect timing. Cool. And Richard says, I was a newbie a year ago. You have helped me learn so much. This is what we are here for. And if anybody gets into the hobby, lots to learn, lots of stuff that we don't know. We're not born with a shortwave radio in our hands. Lowell Jacobson, Jake, KC8BQN. Nice to have you here. Thomas, nice to have you here. Tom and Susie, nice to have you on board. Danielle LeBlanc, nice to have you here from the Shediac River, New Brunswick. Great reception, listening to 11855. Radio Aparecida, Portuguese. Cool. Paul, nice to have you here from Southwest Michigan. We have Bruce Corbett says, while growing up, somehow my parents' home ended up with an old floor model shortwave receiver. I wish I had it today. Oh, man. We used to go to a place up north, which was my dad's boss had a shack, a really nice place up north. And they had the big wooden radio. And unfortunately, it didn't work. But boy, would I've loved to have that thing work and tune around with it. It was beautiful. Meryl says thanks for the welcome and hello to you to all to you all. Slippery Rock, nice to have you on board. MDK2 suggestion for August 2022 Fest. We'll all crash this pad and have a good old fashioned party. Lock up your radios, Joel. Rolf Cramden, nice to have you here from rainy southern New Jersey. Roger Gibbs, nice to have you here from a wet evening in the UK. Mike Kaiser, what numbers are you on for shortwave right now? Well, I was tuning 15590, which was Radio Thailand a little earlier. There's 7375 Radio Romania. That should be in English right now. You can also try the WRI frequencies at 030, I believe. Slovakia is in English on 5850 and maybe 7780. A few frequencies that I just send out. Keith Abbott, nice to have you on board. Squidward, nice to have you here. BBC still getting jammed. I haven't heard of any jamming of the BBC. BBC has been on many frequencies and new frequencies too, and I haven't heard of any jamming on the BBC itself. Tom, nice to have you on board from Longclova, Ohio. Skip from his campsite in Delaware. Welcome aboard, my friend. And to EI. Hope you're doing some great radio catches there. Tom DXer, WP2QED. Nice to have you here from Hudson Valley, New York. Greg, watch on YouTube. Here is a radio receiver you should buy. Prentice J15 radio. Medium wave FM and shortwave 3 bands. I want to check that out. What else do we have? Tom says, lived through the Cold War. Lots of shortwave then, Radio Free Europe, etc., etc. Dave Conte, nice to have you here from the Bronx. Started around the same time as you on the same radio. I had a 65-foot steel wire hanging out of my window attached to a telescoping antenna. So that's cool. Keith Abbott, if everyone could share that opinion instead of being offended all the time. Yep. Al H, nice to have you here. James Farley, have you ever thought of setting up Kiwi SDR so we can access your location? One thing that came to mind that I never went fully through was since the ICOM ICRD500, I've got everything for computer control. And I've got a old desktop that doesn't do anything here. One of the things I had thought of was to maybe set it up, but on the there's another web page where you can actually tune receivers, radio receivers, global tuners. And I thought maybe the Kenwood the ICOM ICRD500 would be fun for you guys to tune around on global tuners. But that could be another thing that I never really dabbled and have a Kiwi SDR and set it up here in Montreal. That could also definitely be a fun thing to do. Rad Radio DXer, nice to have you on board from Europe, from the UK. Joseph Ickenbaum, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay, California. Nice to have you on board. Keith says, I hope you have more Zooms. I hate that I missed it. Yep, we'll have some from time to time. Absolutely. Tom, dig the fireplace. It looks like the speaker's on fire here. Chris from Long Island, New York. Nice to have you here. Merrill is in New Mexico. Cool. Scannery, KB1 PPJ. Nice to have you on board. Loved the Zoom a couple of weeks ago. It was a lot of fun. Honestly, it was a lot of fun to meet you guys. Charles Williams from San Diego. Nice to have you on board. Nice color scheme. I like it. Cool. That's the spirit. Jean-François Trudel. Nice to have you on board. Bienvenue de Saint-Hubert, VE2 WMJ. VT Radio says, found a red-green channel on my Roku device. Now I am in duct tape heaven. Charles Williams. Nice to have you here. We have Paul Richardson, VE9 VW. Nice to have you here, Paul. Zen Pharaohs, nice to have you here with the HF Discovery. And for a change, an unmodified U-loop among four antennas. Pretty cool. Squidward, KA1103, number one shortwave radio, if you get one. Yeah, they're hard to get now because the original analog KA1103 or DXing D1103 is more and more difficult to find now. I do find mine very nice, definitely. Levi Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. Nice to have you here. Refus says over 100 watching, 134 right now. Only 34 likes. Not enough. And I'm at what? 134 and I got 50 likes. Not enough. Of course we need more. The PBRSTG. Nice to have you here from Northern Vermont. Green Mountains. I am in search of a new weather station because I have noticed that just gonna try to get back to where I was. Okay, so the weather station that I have there on the wall, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but if you can't, here it is. Here it is. That weather station here. Temperature doesn't show anymore, and I thought it was the transmitter not sending the data, but nope, it has the wind. The wind is showing up, which means it is receiving the data from the sensors back, but the sensors are seem to not give the temperature anymore. And when I opened it up, because I opened it up to, I thought maybe the batteries. The battery compartment had tons of rust in it, which means water finally infiltrated the weather sensors after what? Man, that thing has been out there for at least 3 years, if not more. So maybe a seal or something happened, but now it probably damaged the sensors. So I'm looking for a really cool one. I don't care what price is going to be, but I'm looking for something with a big screen, big colorful screen, something amazing. I have maybe an idea. I found one on Amazon, but it's a little expensive. It's close to $300, but it has an amazing colorful panel, lots of information. The device itself connects to online weather channel, like several weather channel reporting sites. So it's part of a network of stations reporting that is on the internet. I thought that was kind of cool. So I'll be looking, and it's very professional. Even has the measuring of the rain and all of that. So I'll be thinking about it, but I definitely need a new weather. A lot of people are like, well, you should. Why don't you just put a weather app on your iPad? It works. So yeah, but it's fun to have your own little weather station at home. I'm a geek for that, and I'd like to have my own little thing. So gonna be checking that out. So in the next few weeks, if you see a new weather, station up on the wall, it's probably going to be something like that. Okay, what else do we have? James Binder, nice to have you here. We have SoCal in California. Nice to have you here. Our JDA Dakota, main clock in the room is always set to UTC. Chris, G7 VEO, have you been on the handbands? I haven't been for a few days, but tomorrow a lot of rain, and I was thinking of trying to maybe get myself a little bit of time on the handbands. I need to do more ham. I did I did have a contact with Serbia the other day, which surprised me. So, but I need to sit down with the radio and have some contacts. Definitely, I'll be more active. Kong lives. Nice to have you here from Lima, Peru. Pretty cool. Keegan DXer reception is with the Ethon Grundig Edition Field BT and Grundig Edition satellite with SSB. Yogi mate, the daylight shifting time, same amount of daylight regardless. Yeah, just shifts the when the sun sets and not, but it's the same amount absolutely. What else do we have? Al, nice to have you here in the room from Westport, Massachusetts. Mike Jam, nice to have you on board. The PBRSTG says, I am thinking of picking up a Greenwich Satellite 800. What do you think about this radio? It's a nice radio. Nice radio. If I had one comment, don't pay too high of a price for it. But I think everybody that owns one is very happy with it. You know, it's a nice one. It's one of those nice big radios, definitely. Yeah, I think everybody calls it the daylight shifting time. Mike WX50, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Kong Lives just ordered his first shortwave radio and a Texan R909. Cool. Welcome to the shortwave world. James Farley, the R5000 is best noise blanker. Noise blankers, and I'll be very fair on this. On old receivers, noise blankers serve pretty much no purpose today. And I'll explain it very simply. The noise blankers were made back in the day when noise was mostly induced by motors or devices that had a constant thumping interference. So those were great for that because they could suppress that, any noise from a motor and stuff like that. But honestly, the um, the noise blankers, when you take out what they do with specific noise, are, and I'll be very fair, the noise blankers from 80s, 70s, 80s desktop receivers do nothing and are no good in any way unless you have that constant thumping of noise. They're not meant to deal with the noise of today. They're not SDRs. They are driven by electronic circuits that suppress very specific noise. That was mostly what we had back in the day. Today's noise level, the noise blankers do nothing. They do nothing. In fact, they might even distort even more whatever you're trying to listen to. So noise blankers on the Kenwood or on the ICOM, completely useless today. They serve no purpose. It's not like today. Today's receivers, like, if you get an ICOM ICR 8600, very modern SDR receiver, technically, they suppress the noise in a different way. They have computer algorithms that suppress the noise and what today's noise looks like. Those definitely, it's like the Malahite or whatever receiver that I've got. When I activate the noise blanker, I mean, it's crazy what it does, but it's computing. It's looking at what the noise looks like and is suppressing it from the voice information or the signal information that you're trying to get. It's very, very different the way you have to dabble with noise today. But anybody that has a JRC 525, a Kenwood, a ICOM, anything that is more than 20 years of age, that is a standard PLL desktop receiver, whatever you have on a noise blanker there is absolutely useless in the world of today to suppress noise. Squidward, best SSB radio. When money's no object, you can get a Texan H501X. But they're all pretty good. Even the the XH data or the Texan PL330 and stuff like that are great on SSB. Where I would say that what's the difference is mostly in the way you tune SSB, which makes it easier. A Texan PL330 makes it easier to tune SSB than a radio that has a BFO, like a Texan PL660, for example. Once you get a hang of it, it still works great. And you just need to practice. I get a lot of people that kind of get discouraged about tuning SSB, especially on radios like the Texan PL660, 680, stuff like that. Just practice, because it's the way you're going to understand how to tune eventually. Because I know how discouraging it could be when you're not used to it. Sometimes you might be off by 1 or 2 kilohertz and you just can't get the voice right. It's a question of learning. If you can't get the voice right, tune 1 kilohertz, above or below. Try again. Maybe I'll get the voice right. Sometimes not getting the voice right simply is because you're not on the frequency. So the BFO cannot reach the frequency desired to get a correct speech decode. It's a question of being, just of practice. Somebody sent me a message because he saw me operate the Texan PL680 the other day on one of my videos and said, "I can't believe how fast you get those voices when you tune SSB." Yeah, it's practice. It's really just practice and listening. That gave me that way of being fast on it, which means even though it's not the same, for me, it's not that much of a problem to tune a single sideband on a radio like that. It's really, really just that as a question, basically. Keegan is having Texas tea brand petite strawberry white tea. Enjoy. That's cool. Bruce Covert as a Texan PL310 ET. It's not a great radio, but it's low cost. It's actually not that bad, honestly. It's not a bad radio on what that you have there. Clip an antenna to that thing and go outdoors. It's going to be even better with the lower noise. You'll be surprised what the ETM scan can pick up. Chaz Tank, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. What else do we have? Michael, nice to have you here. Skipwave DX, is the use of a balun and the antenna line beneficial for shortwave listening? For a standard portable receiver, it doesn't have much purpose. A balun is to balance the line to the input of your radio. Maybe on a desktop receiver or receivers that have a 50 ohm input. And even then, depends on the antenna and depends on so many factors. Some will have an effect and see, oh, yeah, it's better. Some will see. In my case, there's a balun on my sloper that I had before. With or without, there was no difference. Everybody's saying hello to Elizabeth. Sorry, guys, I'm 20 minutes late. What else do we have? Yogi, I would only say 310 ET when you only consider W batteries and hate the PL660. PL660 is actually a good radio. Depends what do you hate on the PL660, just out of curiosity. Jack, nice to have you here from Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. Nice to have you here. James Farley. Whoops. Hit it again. Just made everything big. There we go. Let me see if I can find where I was. There we go. Let me go down. James Farley, the PL 880 has 9 kilohertz bandwidth on AM. Does the H01? All the receivers have that. You have to change it. If you want to have 10 or 9, you have to change it. All the radios have a way to change from 9 to 10. Some have a little switch in the battery compartment. Some it's by a key press that you hold when the radio's off. But on AM, it's 9 or 10. If you're talking about bandwidth of the filters, then the H501 goes to 6. Honestly, I don't see why anybody wants better than 6. I get it that you get more audio, but it's pretty much useless unless you're listening to an AM station specifically, because it gives all the station above and below. Well, it's just too wide. 9 kilohertz is too wide on the radio, personally. But I get it. Some of you want a 9 kilohertz bandwidth for the audio to kind of, it gives a richer, because it has more frequency response across the spectrum. But it depends what you're looking at. Are you looking at a radio for AM radio listening? Then yeah, I get it why 9 kilohertz might appeal to you. But 6 kilohertz is nice, and I personally, with the audio quality of the H501, for example, I don't see why, but I get it. I get it that some of you want to have that. So, but the H501, no, it has, I think the highest is 6. Squidward, what's the best SDR dongles? Don't get a dongle. Go directly to an SDR Play RSP1A. You have the best from the start at a reasonable price, around 100, and because the SDR RTL SDR V3, not bad. For the price, it's not bad. I'm going to give it that. But it has the flaws of, you need to know how to install that weird driver. Then you need to know how to play with, how to change the settings when you want to go to shortwave or when you go to VHF, UHF. It's complex if you're not computer savvy. Where the SDR Player RSP1A, you just plug and play, install the software, and you just got to learn how to use it. That's all. Jason Francis, nice to have you on board from Ottawa, Ontario. Canadian Radio TV guy, nice to have you on board. Lots of sun activity lately. Yeah, and actually there was a nice article in Space Weather. We are really, really ahead of what we should be in terms of solar activity. Right now, our progression to solar cycle 25 is way faster, and we are already at a much stronger solar cycle than what was predicted. So this is kind of interesting. We're going to see where we go in the solar cycle. This is going to be a lot of fun to see if, maybe we need to think again on how to predict solar cycles. Maybe we're wrong. And that looks like right now that we're wrong, and not NASA isn't doing the right prediction. Mike WX50 have a old floor model wood shortwave radio, used to work, but now it's just a nice looking bit of furniture. Yeah. Have you ever checked if it was possible to fix it? 10 Amos, nice to have you here. Yeah, RTL is the RV3 is okay. But like I said, it's more complex to use because you got to understand how to install it and how to make it work. And rather than go to the AirSpy for an introduction, the SDR Play RSP1A is definitely performance for the money, for the simple way to just plug and play, unbeatable, and it's the way to go. AirSpy, more expensive and lacks a lot in frequency coverage. And I don't agree with people that say it's better than the SDR Play or SPDX or things like that. But that's my take on it. Mark just set up a Walbrook LN 1500. So cool. Hope you're having fun with that. Tobruk Tim, trying to get programs in English in North America is frustrating. Yeah, North America is the problem because a lot of stations are not broadcasting towards us. That's why when I go on Facebook, I try to focus a lot on the English language stuff that's playing as I'm tuning around because I want to try to help everybody focus on, okay, this is in English right now. This is in English right now. This is in English right now. So that people have something to listen to. Definitely. John Beckham, nice to have you on board from Northeast Florida, says 5990 coming in. M. Phillips, you made it. Yes. Mark Drager, nice to have you here from Southeast Wisconsin. David Extra thinks I was born with a shortwave in my hands. Do you think so? I was born with the radio, came out with the radio. That would have been a story. It's like, well, you came out, you had a radio, and you were listening to Radio Moscow. It's like, what? Let me try to get down as much as I can. I'll try to catch up a little bit here. Okay. What else do we have? Keegan says the reason why he changed his name a little bit was because of the Zoom meeting, so that people know his name now. My Jam, the MLA30 Plus recommends using 5 to 12 volts input with putting 12 volts making the improvements. So first of all, for those that have an MLA30, do not shove 12 volts on the bias T box. You're going to blow it up. The only way to put 12 volts is to put it directly to the antenna amplifier. Now, what it could do is if you would power the antenna with a 12 volts direct, the amplifier of the antenna is probably a possible lower noise. And the reason why is because when you take the bias T and you put some 5 volts in it, the antenna itself works on 12 volts. It doesn't work on 5, it works on 12. So there's an conversion of the power. So what it does, it takes the 5 volts and ups the 5 volts to 12 with electronic circuitry. That little circuit that does that could technically induce noise. So if the antenna is directly powered at 12, what happens is that 12 volts will not need to be up converted. So it could technically, and I've heard people say that it kind of lowered the noise to power it with 12. But like I said, don't power 12 volts in the bias T box itself directly by the little connector because you're gonna fry that thing like real fast. But it could result in lower noise to give the 12 volts required directly. Yes. Michael, remember my grandfather had a wooden floor model at his lake house. I think it was Silvertone, 1963. Yeah. Yogi, will you replace a fireplace with fish tank in the summer? I was actually thinking about that earlier. I'm thinking of what could I do with this. Um, it's not super bright and it's not super easy to see. So I'm kind of wondering maybe I should add a TV back here, or I don't know. I got tons of things I'm thinking about what to do. One of the things that I thought of, yeah, it could be a fish tank, but it could be other things. I was dabbling with the idea, if like in nights where solar activity, where geomagnetic storms are happening, maybe we could have a live feed of auroras on the screen or something like that. I don't know. We're gonna check it out. What else do we have? Bob VE3UTH checking in. Shortwave listeners in the 60s. Cool. Cool. Pretty cool. Barry, nice to have you here. TVDXer, I got the outdoor cover for the Lacoste text sensor. Hopefully they'll keep it going longer. Okay. So, I'll be fair. I am a little I'm the kind of guy that likes to change regularly the stuff. So when my weather stations start behaving bizarre or stop working, I'm not the kind of guy that goes crazy over it. I'm more like internally there's a little part of me that says, "Yay, we're going to buy a new one." I know it's not what we should do and I know it's not great for the planet, but there's a part of me that was like, time for a new one. Let's see what's out there. But I always loved to have a weather station, even if it was just. I remember the first when I lived the place before here. I had a simple humidity and temperature wireless sensor, and I kind of find it cool to have my own reading. Why go to the app or whatever website when I have it right there in my face from my own sensor in the backyard? And so, and as time went by, I wanted more and more of the weather stuff. Rock Kitmon. Look into weather gear for sailboats. Probably it'll change your amount of the price, but it's cool stuff. Okay, I'll check. I've been going through many different things and checking out what's out there. Scannery. I'm monitoring my neighbor's Accurite 3-in-1 weather station right now using RTL on 433 megahertz. So yeah, absolutely, it sends the data. You can monitor that. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I don't have it offhand because I've been watching so many. I wouldn't find it kind of easily, TVDXer. But once I set up and think and buy it, I'll put the link definitely. Simon Templar, happy Wednesday. Nice to have you on board, my friend. I was thinking about you yesterday. I used my Yaesu FT65 and had a conversation with a friend Ham that was on 2 meters. It was kind of fun. And we're thinking about something. Me and Sheldon are actually thinking about something to kind of push people into doing radio. We were thinking about getting on the 2 meter repeater and just start talking about radio and what we're listening and see if anybody out there kind of joins in the conversation just for the fun of it. Chastank got a weather rock. If the rock is white, it's snowing. When it's wet, rock wet is raining. Yeah, I saw that. There was one that what was it? There was like if it's wet, it's raining. If it's white, it's snowing. And if it's I don't remember. If it's not there anymore, there's a hurricane or something. 10 a.m. is I'm drinking cranberry vodka, which is my standard here. My WDX 50 got a Granite Satellite 800. Very happy with it. I guess it's all a question of price, Greg, how many shortwave receivers do I own? Oh boy, I have more than 100 in the last count. I don't know an exact number, but more than 100. A lot of cheap stuff in there for sure, though. For sure. Letty 33, nice to have you here from Springfield, Missouri. Nice to have you here. Chastank, remember putting noise filters on a car radio so I could hear the radio in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, cars were big, big noisemakers, thump, 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 thump from the motor. I remember back then you would listen to a shortwave radio in your home and you would hear the interference as a car passed by on the front on the street. I still remember that. Who currently broadcasts on 7420? I believe it's Radio Romania. That's on 7420. I believe it's Radio Romania in. Yeah, it's Radio Romania. I'm pretty sure. They had a problem yesterday in their feeds. the frequencies that are usually, yeah, Radio Romania and Romanian from Romania. But yesterday they had a problem. Yesterday 7420 was following the languages of the other frequencies. So it was in English and French. It's like, oops, somebody messed up. Television archives. My dad recorded shortwave back in the 70s. Cool. Still can't find the audio tapes, but I'm still looking. You got to find those. The stuff that must be on those tapes must be amazing. Daniel Mark LeBlanc, Grundig Satellite 800, beautiful radio. It is a beautiful radio. I have a story with that. When I did my tech guy duties, I had a customer that had one. And boy, I was so sad because every time I would go to his place, it was stuck on the same FM frequency. And I remember telling the guy, "Oh, you listen to shortwave on it?" He had no clue what shortwave was. He had that thing because he thought he wanted to have a good radio and he just bought it, but it was stuck on an FM frequency. And I remember telling him, I can, if you like the sound of this radio, we can make an exchange and you'll have an amazing radio for what you're listening to. And in exchange, I'll give you that radio, give you a little bit of cash because I didn't want to screw the guy because I knew you paid a high price for it. And let's make a switch because I wanted to have it. And he said no. He wanted to have the radio, but he had no clue. Shortwave, I had no clue what it was. I had no clue. For him, all he wanted was an AM FM radio. And he thought it was good looking and must be high quality. And so he bought that. And every time I went there, I went to his place in 15 years, maybe went to his place 7 or 8 times. Every time I would look at the Grenadier Satellite 800 on the desk and think it's such a shame that it's stuck on 95.1 FM all the time, and it's the only thing it will ever do in its life. I found that such a waste for a radio like that. MDK2, going to hang out with family. Take care, Matt. Always nice to have you on board. Victory Cruz, saludos. ¿Cómo está mi amigo desde Colombia? Nice to have you on board. My location is Montreal, Quebec, Canada, for those that don't know. Michael Holland, nice to have you on board. Jill is the ultimate salesperson of the year. God. Vienno Marcel, bonsoir. J'espère que ça va bien. À quel endroit t'es situé? Where are you located? James Farley, I disagree. Nice blanker one works sometimes greatly. Yeah, you might disagree. It's all right, but honestly, they don't. But if you find some use for it, it's all right. But they're made for old school interference, basically. Mark R, single sideband, generally 1.5 kilohertz above or below the center frequency. Yeah, and when you have a BFO, you got to play with it. Hey, it's Nick Casarino from County Com. Nice to have you here. Package coming your way. Thanks you, Nick. Nice, really cool. And by the way, a lot of people are mentioning that the GP7 is out of stock. Can you give us a little more information of when you expect maybe new shipments of the GP7? Because I know some people prefer to buy from you than to buy the Texan PL368 from China Direct. And also the fact that yours has a much better antenna, much sturdier antenna than the original. And also there's a lot this week. There's quite a few people that were asking about, buying the antenna. Maybe you can also help us with that. So the question that a lot of people had this week is, can I buy a Texan PLS, or I have a Texan PLS 368 flimsy antenna? Can I buy the Conicom antenna and fit it to my PL 368? If you can answer these questions, that would be great. I kind of told him, well, it's the same radio. I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be possible to exchange the antenna, but maybe there could be something in the way. But so thanks, Nick, and hope that that you can answer some of those questions that our viewers and the people that follow the channel have. And thanks so much once again for everything. Thanks for the GP7 SSB that's right here, always very close to me, and a lot of fun playing with that. And hope your everything's going well. And at CountyCom, thanks so much. RJD Dakota, 9 is only good for medium wave performance. My favorite bandwidth in radio is about 1.8 or 2. Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. But, I put my radios for shortwave are around 4 kilohertz. Anything close to 4 kilohertz. John Beckham. What else do we have? It's not China radio. It's Radio Romania, 7420. John Beckham says, yay for a strong solar cycle. Absolutely. What else do we have? VA2HET Luc, bonjour et bienvenue. Nice to have you on board. What else here? What else here? What else here? Okay. Yogi, solar cycle is so high now, such that I could still hear BBC from Ascension in Hong Kong at 4 p.m. on 11/8/10. Cool. Thomas Kitts, we are in Washington. The flowers are blooming back at home. Our cars are bearing still 3 feet of snow. Youch. Hi to the kitties. At 4 a.m. Okay. Yogi. Wolf Messing. XH data has awkward fine tuning. It's not awkward. You just got to get used to it. The plus or minus thing when you actually fine tune on an SSB signal. Francis Moore, nice to have you on board from the UK. Psychofu, yeah, the radios like the Texan PL880 and a lot of Texan receivers. You got to be careful on Amazon. It's not always a great place to buy, and it's not always a great place to get a decent price for a lot of radios. Honestly, it's like crazy. Take care, Bruce Corbett. It's nice to have you on board. Like I said, Greg, more than 100. More than 100. A lot of cheap ones in there, but more than 100 radios for sure. Kevin, what's the best meter band for daytime DX and USA? All depends on solar activity, but depends what you're looking for. Remember that midday daytime, like from say around 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the worst time to really DX. It's solar absorption is very high, and so you're not going to get that much. It's really much better in the later, like mid to late afternoon, and so on, and evening or early morning. Vieno Marcel, what's the chirp sound on 4460? That is what we call CODAR. It's an ocean type radar. So there's a host of antennas and radars across the east board, even the south and the west coast of the North America. And what they do is they send that signal. They can detect the height of ocean waves, the direction of ocean currents with that type of radar. So that's what you hear around that area. And it's not just around that area. You'll see there's some of them on 4 megahertz, some on 12, 13, So there's higher frequencies also, but it's CODAR. It's a type of radar for ocean currents and waves. 100 last good nerves. New to ham and new to shortwave. Got a text in 3:30. Very difficult to get shortwave broadcast in South Florida. Any thoughts starting with antennas? So if you have a hard time getting broadcast, the first thing is probably the noise level around you. So maybe try with a simple wire outdoors. A lot of people go up. If you have a lot of noise, go up to a loop, a magnetic loop like an MLA 30. But take that radio out in a park and go see what it does. And you might be surprised what the ETM scan brings up when you're in a very low noise environment. It's difficult to today for shortwave for that reason, the noise we have in our homes with all the stuff that you have. To name is not necessarily, because if he's in Florida, a lot of the WRMI stuff might be actually skipping over him too. It depends on the distance he's with the station. John Hummel Newell, TV would be cool to show the gray line map. Okay, that'd be cool. Bob, nice to hear my name read out. Read out. It reminds me of having my letters read on Radio Netherlands DX jukebox. So it's surprising. It's surprising. David DXer enjoying the Lacrosse technology. I'm glad you recommended it. Oh yeah, it's a nice weather station. Absolutely. Accurate Atlas Professional 5-in-1 with Wi-Fi and lightning detection. Oh, that looks interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out. Lightning detection. I want to have that. I want it to detect everything. If it can detect if aliens are coming over, I'm buying. Simon Templar. I'm glad you're enjoying the 65. Oh yeah, absolutely. Great little radio. Great little transceiver. Yesu is pronounced Yesu. It's a place in Tokyo. Tokyo. Yeah, we pronounce it the way we want. Yeah. What else do we have? Keegan DXer had my Ethine Grenic Edition Field BT radio since January 2019, and the Grenic Edition satellite since March 2020. San Pharaoh's oddly enough tuned to 7420. That's called, it's one of those psychic abilities. Barry, alternator whine. You could hear that engine rev or slow down, kind of a Doppler effect. Yep, absolutely. You would hear the cars pass by in the front. That was always kind of wow. VT radio. I pulled along an electric city bus and it wiped out my AM radio. I can imagine. Imagine all the electricity in there. You know, the electric cars, they don't want to put AM radios in there because they don't know how to deal with the interference. What else? Canadian radio TV guys still record and archive some shortwave broadcasts on cassette tape, at least for now, until I can get my Panasonic stereo CD recorder. Mike Jam, thanks for the info on the MLA 30. No problem. Currents IT guy, 41 meters coming in really well tonight in Western Pennsylvania. John Beckham, CHU Canada on 14670 into Northeast Florida. Cool. RJDA Dakota, one of my biggest pet peeves was more than one person had a huge shortwave radio. Was always stuck on 94.7 FM. I ended up getting one of those sets from them. Yeah. Marvin Motz bought a CA 1910 Coher Marconi radio from a woman who had no idea what it was for my museum. He had a Coher with tapper and coil capacitor combination. A lot of people have no idea what they have, honestly. I can tell you that. Craig N74 from Indiana. Bogues, Satanic Shortwave returns in 2022. Time will tell. Francis Moore. Bought a book, Radio Propagation Explained. Fascinating. And it's all due to your discussion about the recent solar flares. Cool. Cool. Current IT guy, my great aunt had a beautiful late model Zenith Transoceanic that sat on the sunroom that only played an FM station playing beautiful music. I was not allowed to touch it. Killed me. Yep. Yep. That's crazy. Oh, so Nick got some in stock now. So if you guys want to buy a Conicom GP7 SSB, it's the time to order. Just got some in stock. Pretty cool. I've had quite a few people saying, "Oh, it's out of stock, out of stock." You know when they're going to get them, so it's nice to have you talk about it. And he says, yes, you can buy the Conicom antenna. So if you guys want to change that flimsy PL368 antenna and have the sturdier um, antenna, that stainless steel antenna that Conicom has, you can definitely change that. Barry, oh yeah, this morning a station from Hawaii was shooting skip on CB. Wow. I got up real early. And because couldn't sleep, and got Voice of Korea, North Korea, around 10 UTC on 11710 with a pretty decent signal. Of course, Radio New Zealand was coming in well on 9700. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's go down. Yeah, I've answered a couple of times. So like I said, more than 100 radios that I have. Honestly. And like I said, I've got a lot of cheap ones in there, but there's a lot of decent ones too. Last count was when we talked about it at the CIDX meeting, Zoom meeting. The question was how many radios you have, and I counted something like 100 and I don't remember the exact number, 115 or something. And I've added a few since. So imagine. Current IT guy, that's Radio Romania in French on 7375 kilohertz. Listen to it calm almost every night since I speak French. Bobby, just out of my curiosity, whatever happened to Callum Tomb? I don't know. Disappeared. I don't think it was blocked or anything. It just disappeared. You know, there's a lot of people when you look at over the years, people that come and go, and there's like a basic core of you guys that have been there since the beginning, or that have joined since then but are still there and always there. But there's also kind of an external group of people that come here, are going to be here really intense for weeks or a year, and that suddenly just fade away. Could be, life bringing other hobbies or other things that they have to do, or it could simply be, they got out of the hobby. They wasn't something that they liked after all, or there's a lot going on here. Victory Coos, happy to say hello. It's always fun to say hello. So what else do we have? Texan versus Ethon. Which brand is better? You know what? Ethon. First of all, there's a few Ethon models that are made by Texan, but Ethon branded. Second of all, I mean, Ethon does have a few models that are great. Definitely. Texan has a lot of great receivers. So I think, it's just mostly a question of which what model you're going to choose more than anything else, because they're both great brands depending on what you're gonna choose. But one thing that I don't like about Ethon is that they do have quite a few crappy models, or quite a few models that over time has problems. But if you choose wisely, Ethon does have some great models, and Texan is a great radio manufacturer in general. I've never been in all the Texan receivers that I purchased. I've never had one that I got it and says, "Well, this is crap." But I do have a couple of Ethon that I got that I was like, "Okay, this is crap." Um, so it all depends on the radio you get, basically. Because, like I said, there are Ethon models that are really good. I got a few here that I like, and I really, really like the Ethon satellite with executive with SSB. It's a great little radio. Works great and everything. There are some Ethon models that are really good. Like I said, it's more a question of choosing carefully for the right radio. What else do we have? Zanfaro's ham on 7290 lower sideband and 7285 upper sideband. This is not like the old days. Yeah, you sure they're in sideband? They could be in AM mode, by the way, because around 7290 AM is what a lot of hams use. So you might be hearing AM hams also. But TFB, Taloha Fishing, nice to have you here. I have an Ethon Elite and a Texan PL330. The Ethon does much more, but the SSB on the Texan is awesome. So honestly, it's more of the way you use it, because I'm pretty sure that Ethon Elite Executive or whatever is as, and the Texan PL330 are neck and neck. What in my test, that's what they are. But it depends how what you do. One of the things that also not to overlook is the length of the antennas. One of the things to take a look at is if one receiver on telescopic has a longer telescopic than the other. It might give you the impression one is better than the other. It's just that one has a bigger antenna, receives a little more signal. There's overloading issues also. Some are better in overloading than others. Depends on the radio. Current IT, I just moved my SDR over to my media server, and I'm serving it on my LANs. For some reason, reception much better. It depends. My experience with SDRs is that induced noise by the computers or the devices is not the same with computer to computer. And you'll find one that you plug it in and you're like, wow, this is so quiet compared to all the others. So, Craig N74, there's no best SDR online. SDR online there's a lot of, Kiwi SDRs, there's a ton of them. The one you probably listen to in the Netherlands is the U20, which is great. The University of 20 SDR is amazing. But go to kiwisdr.com and check that. You'll have hundreds of online SDRs. They're not all good. Some are very noisy, but you will have a way of listening to shortwave from different places all around the world, which is great. So just go to kiwisdr.com for sure. James Farley has WWV at 20 megahertz. What do we have? What else do we have? Dean, greetings from an old shortwave listener, passport to world band radio days, and my DX390. VE5 SPR. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Edward, where can I get a map like the one behind you? I bought it on Amazon. It wasn't very expensive, but I bought it on Amazon. San Farros has Radio Educación, Mexico City on 6185. Let me check it out here if we can join in. Okay. Yeah, I saw that there were quite a few tornadoes in the U.S. This week, in the past week. Pretty crazy. San Farros has HCJB 6050 Quito, Ecuador. Cool. What else do we have? Thunder, question. What would a person need to broadcast on shortwave? A transmitter. Basically, it depends what you want to do exactly to broadcast on shortwave. A lot of pirates use ham gear that is modified to be able to transmit on all frequencies outside of the amateur bands, which is probably most pirates. Most pirates probably use that, a modified ham transceiver. And a lot of ham transceivers are modifiable because they can become what they say in the manual is compatible with MARS. MARS is the Military Auxiliary Radio System, which is military communications outside of the amateur bands. So a lot of transceivers have that available, often by the clip of a diode or a jumper or something like that. And it just opens the radio to transmit on any frequency, any frequency. So a lot of people have that, and what they do, pirates might use that with an amplifier to have more power, stuff like that. But apart from that, if you want to be a broadcaster, you got to buy a commercial transmitter, and you know, these are expensive. Depends what you want to do. If you're a ham radio operator like I am, V2ZZI, transceivers that have the ham bands where you're broadcasting on shortwave, it's just that it's ham radio stuff. JJH from the soon-to-be chilly shores of Western Lake, Michigan, drinking a Lone Star beer, national beer of Texas. Cool. Welcome aboard. What else do we have? TB Ostrowski, Teddy B from Medicine Hat. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Current IT guy, interesting. Still getting CFRX on 6070. Usually by this time of day, it's lost in the noise. You know, the higher solar activity changes the propagation characteristics also of shortwave even later in the day. So I've noticed, for example, that in the nighttime, in the evening, here CFRX in Toronto on 6070 is almost inexistent in the evening, local evenings. But lately, with higher solar activity, I noticed that 6070 is almost always there with a good signal, even in the evening. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So the hams are in SSB? Huh, interesting. Was it you that reported that? Or somebody reported that in the last week that there were some upper sideband hams in the 40-meter band? You know, it's not a broken rule. It's just you know, that most of the time you want to follow the gentleman's agreement. You know, there's a gang of hams that I hear on 3600 that are always in upper sideband, and I hear them a couple of times every week, and it's like, yeah, okay, they decided to just do that. Maybe they don't want to interfere with the signals just below that are mostly digital signals. But it's like, there's no. It's really a gentleman's agreement. You don't have to, and you're not breaking any official rules by, you know, you could go on 40 meters and broadcast on upper sideband or on AM mode, and outside of where people are on AM, and you're okay. You could be on 7150 and say, "Hey, I'm going on AM here." You are not illegal, honestly. You're just not following the gentleman's agreement. What else do we have? What else do we have? Barry, yes, the weather was insane. Okay. I have a surplus of mud to sell now. Anyone wants mud? Then Mark LeBlanc, understand that radios using electric adapters with higher outputs than prescribed creates unwanted noise. If I can't find an adapter with a proper voltage, can I go with a multi-volt type? Yeah, absolutely. The adapters, the noise. So there's several things about noise and adapters. First of all, any radio, you have to stay away as much as possible from those switching power supply adapters. They are crazy noisy most of the time. There are some decent ones. For example, my Sangean receiver receivers, I got a couple that came with an adapter. It is a switching power supply, and it says on it it's a switching power adapter, but it's very well filtered and doesn't really bring a lot of noise or almost no noise to the radio. So you want to have a good old wall wart, which is, a good old um, wall wart with a transformer and, the rectifier bridge and everything. If you do get one of those with a multi voltage, it's fine. Works well. The question is mostly of will the adapter be noisy more than another one, and you're going to try to you have to try to stay away from those. David, KJ4CMY, yes, WHRI is for sale for 1.5 million, which honestly, when you think about it, for the size of the land, you get a radio station, it's a bargain. I mean, I should try a GoFundMe and buy WHRI. But honestly, it is a bargain. At 1.5 million for the size of the land and a transmitter site, you got a shortwave broadcast station there. You got an enormous amount. Just the land is worth more than 1.5 million. I'm surprised at how low that price is for that station. It would be really nice if somebody would purchase that. WBCQ wanted to buy it. I wouldn't be surprised that the reason they didn't was I wouldn't be surprised that the reason they didn't have the money. They didn't have the 1.5 million. They couldn't come out with the money. Yeah, Voice of Mongolia right now on 5800 via WRMI, definitely. Mickey Delmich, be careful with your removing of messages. You're removing John Beckham right now. Just be careful, please. It can happen. It happens to all the best of us. What's on 6145? So I've got nothing here. but definitely you've got something on 6145. John, 6145. What's here? 6145. Right now, there's Radio Brazil Sim Fronteiras, which is pretty much the only station written here. And there's one in China, PBS station, public Chinese public radio. But apart from that, there's nothing else from the Brazil. What language is it? Out of curiosity. Oh, 6165. I believe it's Radio Havana, Cuba. 6165. For the biologists, they never supplied a link. So there's WBCQ. There's WBCQ and 6160 in English, but usually 6165 is Cuba. Fais attention à toi, TV DXer. Look at your listen to the show, Greg. I've mentioned it many times, more than 100. I got more than 100 radios. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here from Los Angeles. Nice to have you on board. Yeah, they're looking for money. Canadian Radio TV guy, WBCQ is looking for money to upgrade their transmitter site. So they have a GoFundMe. Absolutely. Barry, yeah, that is a steal. Absolutely. I mean, that thing, $1.5 million for the land and the shortwave transmitters and everything. Definitely. I can't believe that it's sold at such a low price. Somebody missed a zero somewhere. Just the land is more than that. It's pretty crazy. Maybe they really want someone to buy it for shortwave stuff. So yeah, WBCQ is actually having a GoFundMe. They're trying to raise money to change the transmitter on 7490 and want to boost it to 100 kilowatts. So I don't know if that's going to work. No problem, Mickey Delbage. It happens to all the best of us. Chris Krug, nice to have you here from Oklahoma. Pretty cool to have you here. Carl DeWitt, had some thunderstorms pass through there. Lower part of HF, pretty noisy tonight. Yeah, and as we get into summer, that's one of the things that's going to happen is that we will have more and more static crashes on the bands because that will be part of summer. Remember that we hear, shortwave. We'll hear static crashes from thunderstorms that are 1,000 kilometers away on shortwave. So this is something that does happen. So TB Ostrowski, got several shortwave radios, but lately I bought the Texan 310 ET and it's lots of fun. Doesn't have filters or SSB, but the ETM is amazing. Yeah, it's a nice little radio. I've got the original one. I got the one which is not the EC one because it doesn't have ETM scan. But nice little radios, absolutely. Chris, there used to be an Anarch AM radio net back in the day. It would be neat to have one of these days. Yeah, and that was the Anarch. It was on a Sunday morning. I remember on 7240, I think, 40 meters. I remember I stumbled upon that net for the first time by accident in the early 90s or something like that. It was cool to have that. And there was a station, a gateway station that would give out a phone number, and you could call in your logs that they would actually mention on the air if you're not a ham radio operator. And it was nice. I think I called in once or twice with logs back in the days. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Good night, Mike WX50. Always nice to have you on board. Stay safe. So one of the things that we were talking about a lot is Greece got an extension. And the problem with Greece is that they've been off 94.20. Anybody heard Greece on 94.20 since March 31st, since April 1st? Because there's been they're off. And I'm a little scared because we had that extension. They were supposed to be extended until May the 31st, but they have been off since April 1st right now. So I really am wondering what's happening. Maybe we should all write again a little round of where are you? I don't hear you anymore, because something's going on right now for sure. Yeah, WTWW both on 9940 and 5085. 9940 is kind of a special transmission directed for Ukraine and Russia. We have what do we have? Nigel, what's my call sign? Victor Echo 2 Zulu Zulu India. Take care, VT Radio, Paul. See you soon. TV Ostrowski says, do any international broadcasters still QSL? I used to do a lot of QSLs. Oh, yeah. Not all of them, but there's quite a few that do QSL. There's Radio Romania does, Radio Voice of Turkey. I just got an email from Radio Voice of Mongolia telling me that they were sending me a QSL card. So there's quite a lot that still do QSL, absolutely. A lot of it now is EQSLs, though. They'll send you a EQSL through email rather than a mail one because it costs less money, of course. Which is still cool. Honestly, it's still cool. Don Galbraith, 9940. Pretty cool. In Oregon. Michael, how about St. Jean brand? You know, St. Jean is a well-known brand for a long time. They've made a lot of radios over the years. St. Jean ATS 909X2 is a nice radio. It has flaws that I find difficult to accept for a radio of that price, but it's still a decent radio. It's sensitive and it works. You're gonna have probably a blast even with that radio. But still, what I find sad about St. Jean is that they should have made their homework before the ATS 909X2 came out, because that could have been a killer radio. It's very beautiful, but if you would tell me, okay, well, you got to buy a Texan PL 990X or a St. Jean ATS 909X2, I'm going to buy a Texan PL 990X. That'll be my first choice. Even though it doesn't have RDS or airband. Airband I don't use on a shortwave radio. I got scanner radios here, so those do that job. And the RDS is nice. I absolutely, it's nice to have it. But since I almost never listen to FM band, I don't miss it on any radio. But there's some nice stuff. St. Jean still has some nice stuff. So what else do we have? Can you read the TV guy? I'm glad WTWW decided to use 31 meters 9940 again for this summer. So cool. Mark Dragger says, no grease so far in April here in southeast Wisconsin. Mad Reader DXer, no idea. Voice of Greece. Tried to receive them on other frequencies, still nothing. Dan, nice to have you here from Ohio and 8WJZ. All right, JDA Dakota. I haven't heard 9420 since April 1st, but they're still on the internet. Huh. Mickey Dalmage. Greece has been on in the morning, local here. 9420. Abrupt shutdown plus or minus 17 UTC. Today was off at 1647. That is weird. That is weird. So they shut down early instead of continuing to the late. Maybe they're running on a reduced schedule. That is weird. Since 9420, particularly, is, I believe, North America beamed. This is weird. And like Keegan, I think Keegan bought it because of me. It's I do have a St. Jean HDR14, which is a nice little portable radio with HD on it. Take care, Merrill. KK4HFG. Have a great night. Carl DeWitt, hearing some activity on 20-meter band. RJDA Dakota, Radio Voice of Greece, is still on internet radio. RRI Romania can also be found there as well, but in a pinch of course, shortwave is always easier. Nigel, I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Can I hear the buzzer? I don't know. I'm going to try it. I haven't tried it in a week or two. Do I hear the buzzer tonight? Nope, no buzzer tonight. Upper sideband, no buzzer tonight. But I can, when conditions are right, I can hear it. Yogi, one more thing. From this season, NHK added 2 more hours of Japanese to the Asian continent. 73.75 from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. local, and 17 to 19 UTC. Cool. Tom DXing, Voice of Greece, heard through 4, 5 of 9420, 12 to 17, as per Hauser's World Radio. So that is weird. Why are they having such a short time of 9420 now? Is that the new rule? Yeah, you'll have an extension, but you'll have it more just a short period. That's kind of sad because it's the evening, late afternoon and evening here in North America where it's coming in well. Huh. Toast and Loaf, nice to have you here. Not hearing 20 megahertz in North Alabama and 20 megahertz WWV. Hey, Fred Waterer, nice to have you here. Says Voice of Greece can be heard via Radio Garden 2. Yes, Greg, I will say hi to Polycat. I promise. So they are on. So Voice of Greece is there, but they just kind of stop at 17 UT. Huh. That is sad, though. Hello, Darren. Nice to have you on board from the Pacific Northwest. As Keegan says, yep, bought the SNG and HDR14 after I watched Joe review on the radio. Still use it a lot. I use it for the WVPR Burlington VPR station, Vermont Public Radio station, and use it also to listen to the HD feed of the BBC World Service, which is nice. Richard, hello. Missed a lot of the show, but there's reruns, absolutely. We're soon to be syndicated and be on the cable channels. Imagine all of these available through a cable channel. Ryan, Radio Havana, Cuba with a decent signal into the UK, but audio way too low. It often happens. There's always something wrong at Radio Havana, Cuba. They have so many problems with Radio Havana, Cuba and their audio, and sometimes it's distorted, sometimes it's too low, or empty carriers. The funniest thing about Radio Havana, Cuba is when they mess up and there's the Cuban number lady on one of their frequencies. You're like, yeah, that's nice. That doesn't come from the same place. Alice, there, noticed that Ethon Elite Mini was $27 online at Best Buy, so ordered one for smaller mobile. Hope it works out. Yeah, the Mini isn't too bad. TB Ostrovsky, you know what? I forgot to talk about it. I actually heard a little bit of news of Arnie Coro on Radio Havana, Cuba. It was, I think, last week. There was a mailbag show, and there was a question about the transmissions of Radio Havana, Cuba from one of the U.S. listeners, and they actually mentioned that Arnie Coro was kind of looking at that, whatever. But they seem to mention that Arnie Coro was still, still alive and well, hopefully. But Arnie Coro, I don't know what age that guy is, but he's not young, and so I think that he's probably ill and now just taking it easy. I don't think Arnie Coro will ever come back to Radio Havana, Cuba. I think we've passed that time. And another thing that they were saying is there's someone that okay, Miki Dalmich says Arnie is 79 years old, so um somebody was mentioning that someone at Radio Havana, Cuba might have at some point maybe a DXers Unlimited style show eventually pop up on Radio Havana, Cuba with somebody new. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. We'll check it out. But I mean, that guy is getting old, and I think he's just taking it easy, and I think what he can do is pretty limited, also. So, but apparently still alive. So I was thinking about something the other day, and even if he's not at the station anymore, I would appreciate if Radio Havana, Cuba, at least lets us know that Arnie Caro passed away eventually. If it ever happens, well, it will happen. It's not if it will ever happen, because there's kind of no choice for that for any of us. But when it happens, it'd be nice if it happens and Radio Havana, Cuba is still there. Because I mean, at 79, he could still live for 20 years. You never know. But if he does pass away and Radio Havana, Cuba is still on the air, it'd be really nice to have a little, shout out that, Arnie passed away and blah, blah, blah. I hope they do that and not just forget the guy. I think for all of us, Arnie Coro is probably one of the most known Cubans of Radio Havana, Cuba. I mean, Arnie Coro, I think for anybody to listen to Shortwave for a while, and it's very unique. DXers Unlimited show. I still remember the rant he had against against Glenn Hauser when Glenn Hauser would, kind of rant at Arnie because of Radio Havana, Cuba's problems. And Arnie Coro would actually reply back in the Xers Unlimited show about that. But he's a known personality. He's somebody that, for a lot of us, Radio Havana, Cuba and Arnie Coro goes together. And I think we all I can speak with everybody. Do we all wish him well and hope that things are going well? Sorry, guys. Current IT guy says, I don't think Cuba would sound right without the buzz hum in the background. That's when, like when we would listen to Radio Moscow. Guys, remember Radio Moscow when they were on the air? A lot of especially when it was very quiet, we could hear that transmitter hum, very distinct transmitter hum from Radio Moscow back in the day. It was very Soviet hum. Mickey Dalmage had an amazing signal from the Voice of Vietnam and signed on at 16 UT in English on 11885. Wow, that's pretty cool. I saw your post in the Shortwave group. It was too late for me to listen, but nice. That's one thing that I missed from WHRI shutdown. Voice of Vietnam relay, North America. Tostin Loaf. Sometimes I hear a Spanish station on 530. Is that Cuba? We got to be careful because yes, it could, but 530 is also a multi-ending station out of Toronto, I think. And I've been fooled a few times. I think Toronto has a multi-ending station on 530 kilohertz, and that's what I hear over here. But don't despair, because here in Montreal, I've been able a couple of winters ago, with while tuning the bands, I was able to hear Radio Rebelde out of Cuba on AM. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Can you read a TV guy? By the way, I just realized the other day that it's almost a year since Brother Stair passed away. I think the Overcomer Mystery is still broadcasting. So it's not a new preacher. It's Brother Stair, but young Brother Stair recordings. It's not a new preacher. I've heard some broadcasts a couple of days ago I stumbled upon, and it definitely is Brother Stair. It's just that it's a young voice of Brother Stair from many years ago. But they still play the same old Brother Stair crap over and over again. D.B. Ostrowski, Arnie, and Joe Adamoff from Radio Moscow was a long liver too. These are all names that for us old guys listening for a long time ring a bell. Definitely. What else do we have? Fred Waterer says Arnie's been there for as long as I can remember. Absolutely. David, KJ4CMY, 530, an island in the Caribbean, unless I heard. So, but there's also a ethnic station, and I think it's in Toronto. Somebody check 5850. 5.85. Not hearing anything here. Oh, wait. I'm hearing jamming. I'm hearing Cuban jamming like real strong on 5850. It's impossible. For the last month and a half, I've been hearing jamming on 5850 all the time. JJH, Radio Moscow in the early 60s. Toast and Loaf, sometimes 530, several stations on the network. There will be a long delay between them, more than a second sometimes. Current IT guy, yes, I remember the Radio Moscow hum. You were tuned in, even if it was dead air. Yep. It was very unique. Very unique. David Flodman says, I had read someplace that Greece cut personnel and hours because of termination in 2 months. Okay, that would figure why they're reduced time, unfortunately. Huh. Mixed Radio International, nice to have you here. Radio Moscow at 50 hertz hum was just classic. Oh man. Unless there gets Radio Rebelde faint in Oregon sometimes. Reticus eBay. There is many types of radios in our store. So you're the real Reticus from the radios that we purchase. Dwayne, take care. See you Saturday. Mickey Delmage, on March 3rd, Arnie posted his Facebook Actividad Solar en Aumento. Solar activity on the rise. So he's still keeping up with things. Cool. Cool. Fred Waterer, 5:30 CHLO Toronto. An hour of Spanish on Saturday mornings, more likely to hear. Yeah, it's last time I heard them was I think an Asian language or something. But they have multiple different languages from time to time. So yeah. Yeah. RJDA Dakota can receive Cuba on 640. And I'm not sure, but I think that was the frequency I could hear Radio Rebelde when I got it a couple of winters ago. Canadian TV guy, I knew it's the New Brothers there, but once in a while they have someone else do a show, I think, but I could be wrong. Yeah, you got to be careful because they have kind of a mix. They have a mix of kind of somebody that looks like he's telling news, and then it goes into the Brothers Stare ranting stuff. Maybe I missed out, and maybe there could be some other voice. That's totally possible. Maybe somebody's decided that they're Brother Stare number 2, but I'll keep an ear on those broadcasts a little more when I go over them to see. But I've recognized a lot of his young voice. But it's a kind of weird broadcast. It has like news items that looks like a news broadcast. Then they go into the end of the world stuff. It's like, yeah. Toast and Loaf, when I first heard their echo was really short, like a reverb, but later longer. So could be. You never know. Honestly, you never know. $58.50 is WRMI in Florida. J Dakota, seems like the station should be sued somehow. It mean that they really don't have to pay someone. Not really. I mean, recordings and recordings. Mark Drager has 58.50 clear in southeast Wisconsin. Here it's only jamming that I hear tonight. Michael says, very good show tonight. John Beckham says, yep, how could you forget that Radio Moscow hum? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Canadian Radio TV guys, because Cuba doesn't want WRMI programming to get into Cuba. And so they jam a lot of the frequencies that are probably some of the best that come into Cuba, and to make sure that the programs don't get there. Or JDA Dakota, one of the local stations here on 770 plays a stare all afternoon. Oh God, please. Yeah, 9955 is another one that's often jammed. The jamming, it depends where you are, because the jamming will be very localized or be broadcast towards a specific area. And depending on where you are, like the other night, somebody said, no, they're not jammed. Yes, they are. Here, I could hear the jamming, but it doesn't mean you're going to hear the jamming. You might hear the station and not hear the jamming. It depends where you are. because it depends on the propagation of the jamming versus the propagation of the station, you know. Good night, Uncle Justin. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Francis Moore, take care. See you Saturday. All right, JD Dakota, Radio Moscow definitely had its own equalizer setting and the 50 hertz too. Yep, absolutely. Kamikaze 76, nice to have you here. Yeah, my fish tank's on fire. Jean-François Trudel, is an external outdoor AM antenna would be any good here in Montreal area catching news stations? I saw a $45 AM external antenna on Amazon, wondering if the investment worth the money. First, it depends on the antenna that you want to choose. Definitely, first, you got to remember one thing: the internal ferrite is underrated. People think that antenna is a junk antenna. It is not. The internal ferrite on a lot of radios is amazingly good, very directional, and very often, if you have a quiet environment, you don't necessarily need that much more. But depending on the antenna, yeah, it could be possible. I've got a Texan AN 200 here, which is a antenna that you can use either next to the radio, so it couples with the radio's internal antenna. The AN 200 is definitely does improve on the medium wave, and of course, you can have medium wave loops that do help improve reception of medium wave signals. Definitely. So you could have definitely better, but it depends what you have. It depends what you have and what's the antenna. They're not all good. You got to be careful with which one. Um, RJ Dakota heard another preacher on Overcomer Ministry. Maybe they had some new guy that's trying to get his place. We'll be hearing that new guy, Brother Crap. We'll call the new guy Brother Crap. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Screaming Preacher, Keegan, is difficult to not laugh at. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Chris IT guy, you know what really grinds my gears? The fact that the XA did a D808 put the fine tune instead of the volume below the tuning knob. Uh, there are little design. There are little design flaws sometimes on radios that you're like, why the hell did you do it like that? Um, one of the funniest that I have in my everyday use is when I use the Texan PL990X with all the controls on, the right side. And then I've used it for a few days and I want to use the Texan H501X that has controls on both sides. And I try to turn down the volume or tune, and I'm like all messed up because it's like, oh, it's not on the right side, it's on the left side for this one. And it's like, oh God, please. Oh man. Oh, it's crazy. Broken stare. I like that. Broken stare. Well, I can tell you one thing. The Brother Stare moaning sessions makes a great, great soundtrack for Halloween night. I mean, you put that with zombies and tombstones, perfect. So it's like, John Beckham, good night. Stay safe. And he's going to spend some time with his cat, Daisy. Cool. Stay safe, my friend. So, hey, guys, I'm also going to say good night for tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. And hope that you enjoyed today's show. It was a lot of fun to be here. And we'll be back on Saturday at 20 hours UTC, going to take care, and hope that you enjoy the show for today. So pretty cool. And we blocked the spam just in time at the end of the show. So take care. I'm a little tired. I didn't sleep that much last night, so I'm going to try to sleep more tonight and be a little more in shape for Saturday. So hope you enjoyed the show tonight. It was a lot of fun and talked all sorts of different little things. We're going to be back Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 20 hours Universal Time. Take care, my friends. Stay safe and see you soon on the Shortwave channel. So take care, everybody, and stay safe. Always nice to be here.